Now we're going to get even more blended family, kind of going into what you were saying, Alan. Um, we're sticking with Mike and Chrissy, had Adam and Dallas. We're going to kind of stick with, that scenario, but they were never married. Chrissy decides to marry Sam, and they have two kids, Joey and Dominic. And mind you, I'm very familiar with this because this is actually my husband's family tree. So he has given me full permission to use this and let everyone know my husband's Dallas in this, just so, just so you know. So he's given me permission to share that. But, you know, I've had these actual conversations with this family on what would happen. Now, Chrissy married Sam, they had Joey and Dominic. What happens if somebody passes away in this scenario? And now, mind you, Mike is an absent father in this scenario. Sam raised all four boys. He considers all four his own. Something happens to Sam. Sam passes away. What happens? Well, Chrissy's entitled to the first 50,000, and Joey and Dominic then split the rest with Chrissy. If he did not legally adopt Adam and Dallas, they are entitled to nothing. Even if he raised them from a year old, they are entitled to nothing. And that is very hard for a lot of people to swallow and understand. And this is where wills really come into play, because this is where Sam should say that he wants all four boys to get something. Um, because right now, Adam and Dallas are not his blood children. They do not get anything in that scenario. Um, so that's just something to keep in mind, especially when it comes to blended families. Um, that if there's no legal adoptions taking place, that's under the court's eyes, those aren't his kids. Now, if something happened to Dallas in this situation, which this has been a real conversation that we've had, Mike's an absent father. He was raised by Sam and Chrissy, and this is before we got married, mind you. What happens? His estate is split 50-50 between his absent father, Mike, and his mother, Chrissy. Sam gets nothing. Even if Sam raised him, changed his diapers, he gets nothing. Um, and so that's also where estate planning is really big for these types of blended families, so that the people that you want to receive your belongings actually receive them. Um, in our own scenario, we actually did an adult adoption between Dallas and Sam. It's also an estate planning tool that you can use as well. So now Dallas is really in Sam's kind of line, and he has nothing to do with Mike, because you'll see in an upcoming slide what Mike's real family tree looks like. Um, we can skip if something happens to Chrissy. I will skip those ones. But yeah, here we are with actually how Mike's family tree is, so that you can see why we did an adult adoption. So Mike and Chrissy never married, gave birth to Adam and Dallas. Um, Mike and Beth never married, gave birth to Amanda. Mike and Danielle never married, gave birth to Derek and Tim. So now you have an estate where there are many half siblings and no spouses, and the court is definitely going to assume that there's more kids out there, and that more people should be involved. And these other types of this estate would easily take 3, 4, 5 years to even get open, because of the amount of people that have a stake in this, and closing that class of kids would be very, very difficult. And this is also why we got Dallas out of that family tree, because I am not going to be the one dealing with it, because I know that's what would happen. But you're looking at, 5 kids just there alone that have a say in Mike's estate. No will, who gets what, they don't all get along, and it becomes an absolute disaster. But that's just something that needs to be thought of when creating the will, especially when it comes to the blended families, and um, especially if you have younger children, on who's going to be getting what if there was no will. It can become an absolute tangled mess if you allow it. Um, but that's just some examples. And this is obviously a horror situation of, the worst case scenario of what could happen. Um, if Mike and Chrissy go, we could go into so many different scenarios of what could happen if somebody passes away. And this is also where I kind of say, if this, then that. It depends who passes away first. It depends on who that person's distributees are. So really getting a will in place will really make sure that your assets go where they're supposed to go and to whom you want them to, who you want to have benefit from your life's work and your hard work during your lifetime.